Hey everyone, welcome back to SHIVASTRA. In today's video, we are going to read Block 3 and Block 4 of BEGC 112. In the previous video, I uploaded the Block 1 and 2. So now let's read Block 3, Unit 1. So what is stream of consciousness? A stream of consciousness is a special way of writing in literature where the writer tries to show how a person's mind really works. In real life, we think many thoughts in our mind all the time, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes in order, and sometimes jumping from one idea to another. A stream of consciousness writing shows these thoughts just like they naturally happen inside the mind, without making them perfect or organized. It feels like the reader is entering the character's brain and reading their private thoughts. What is the role of memory in a stream of consciousness novel? In a stream of consciousness novel, memory is very important. The characters keep thinking about their past again and again. These memories come into their mind suddenly. Just like in real life, no one asks them to remember, they just do. In the novel Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, the main character Clarissa Dalloway is walking on the road and planning a party. But while walking, she remembers many old things, her younger days, her older friends like Peter Walsh and Sally, and the time she chose to marry Richard Dalloway. These memories show us how she feels about her life now, happy sometimes but also a little sad and confused. Another character in the story, Septimus, also remembers things from the past. He was a soldier in the war. He keeps remembering the war and his dead friend's Evans. These memories make him very sad and scared. He finds it hard to live a normal life because of these thoughts. So in this kind of novel, memory helps us understand what the character feel inside. It is like we are inside their head and can feel their emotions. So basically, in a stream of consciousness novel like Mrs. Dalloway, memory helps show the deep thoughts and feeling of characters. It brings the past into the present and shows us what kind of people they are. What is the concept of characterization in a stream of consciousness novel? So in normal stories, we learn about a character by what they do, what they say, and what others say about them. But in a stream of consciousness novel, we learn about a character by what they think and feel inside their mind, even if they don't say it aloud. In this type of novel, the writers show the character thought just like they happen in real life, sometimes fast, sometimes jumping. These all are the same. You just read it because these two questions are interconnected with each other, okay? But the question is just a twist up. So you can easily read it. So now let's move on to the another varied dimensions of stream of consciousness. So stream of consciousness is not just one fixed style. It has many sides or dimension, which means it shows different things in different way. These help the writer show the mind, time, emotion and memories of character in a very natural way, just like in real life. Here are some simple dimensions, or we can say part of stream of consciousness. Number 1, flow of thoughts. In this, thoughts move freely. They are not always in order. A person might think about the present, then suddenly about something from childhood, then something random. Time is not fixed. Time in this novel doesn't go straight like a clock. It goes back and forth, from present to past and back again. Emotions and sensation. This technique also shows deep emotion and feeling like fear, sadness, or happiness, even things the character doesn't say out loud. Multiple minds. Sometimes the writer shows the thoughts of more than one person, one after the another. So we understand how people differently think and feel. Deep understanding of life. So it means the stream of consciousness style help readers understand the inner world of people, their dream, pain, hope, and memories. So basically, the stream of consciousness style has many parts: thought, memory, emotion, time jump, showing different people mind. All these help us to see the full picture of a person's mind, just like in real life. And now let's move on to the history as a component of a stream of consciousness. So history plays an important role, but it is not like in a textbook. History is shown through how characters remember the past, especially how it has shaped their lives and thought. You must basically remember this definition, and then these all questions are interconnected with each other. I am telling you again, don't lose hope in the exam hall if any question appear from this topic. So you can write any answer. If you know the definition of the stream of consciousness, then you can write that, and then you can write anything because these are all the features. So basically you can tell personal history, big events in history, effects of the past, history and identity. So these all are interconnected, okay? There's no need to read all the lines, but I just write it down for your reference. Now let's move on to the aesthetic of the stream of consciousness. So the word aesthetic means the style, beauty, and a way of writing in literature. So when we say aesthetic of stream of consciousness, we are talking about the unique style and beauty of this kind of writing. Focus on thoughts, not plot. In normal novels, the story moves through clear action, like this happens, then that happens. But in stream of consciousness, the beauty is in the thoughts and emotion of the character. No clear beginning or end to thoughts. In this style, the character's thoughts flow like a river, jumping from one idea to another, sometimes from present to past, back to present. Inner beauty and truth. The aesthetic of stream of consciousness show the inner world of people, their secret, thoughts, fear, happiness, regrets. This create a deep connection between the reader and the character. Use of language. The language is poetic and emotional. Sentences may be long, broken, flowing without full stop, but this is how real thought happen in the mind, not always in a perfect grammar. And last one is beauty in ordinary life. So a stream of consciousness also find beauty in simple things like looking at flowers, hearing a clock chime, or feeling the wind. It shows that even everyday life has a deep meaning. Okay, so our block 3 unit 1 is completed. Now let's move on to the unit 2 of block 3, which is Virginia Woolf as a novelist. Virginia Woolf was one of the most famous English novelists of the 20th century. She didn't follow the usual way of telling stories. Instead of focusing only on outside events, she showed what was happening inside a character's mind, their thoughts, memory, and feelings. So her narrative technique is a stream of consciousness. Okay, so she uses a special style called stream of consciousness, where we see the thoughts flow like a river, jumping from past to present. In novel like Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse, she didn't write a big action scenes. She focused on emotion, inner pain, daily life, and the passage of time. Woolf's novel often had female character at the center, and she showed how society treated women. She believed women must have freedom, education, and space to think. She changed the way novels were written and gave more importance to mind, memory, and time than to the simple storytelling. Now, let's move on to the another topic of this unit, the Bloomsbury Group. So what is this? So the Bloomsbury Group was a small group of writers, artists, and thinkers in England. They were friends who met often to talk about book, art, life, and big ideas. They started meeting in the early 1900s, mostly in the Bloomsbury area of London. That's why they are called the Bloomsbury Group. So some of the most famous people in this group were Virginia Woolf, the writer, Leonard Woolf, her husband, Vanessa Bell, Virginia's sister, a painter, E.M. Forster, writer of novels like A Passage to India, Lytton Strachey, a famous biographer, Roger Fry, an art critic, Duncan Grant, an artist. So what did they believe? The Bloomsbury Group had modern and different ideas for that time. They didn't believe in following society old rule. They believed in freedom of thought. Love and relationships should be free. Art and beauty are more important than money. Peace, talking openly about life, feeling, and personal struggle. So they were open-minded and wanted to live life with truth and creativity. How did this help Virginia Woolf? So beginning the Bloomsbury Group gave Virginia support, love, and freedom. She felt safe to write in her own style and speak her mind. She talked about women's problems, mental health, and inner thoughts in her books, things that were not talked about much before. Her friends in the group encouraged her and helped her publish her work. She and her husband Leonard Woolf even started a small publishing company called Hogarth Press, where they printed her novels. Why is the group important? The Bloomsbury Group changed English literature, art, and ideas. They helped start modern writing, more honest, more emotional, more creative. They show the world that it's okay to be different, to feel deeply, and to break old rules. Even today, people remember the Bloomsbury Group as a symbol of freedom, intelligence, and creativity. Now, Virginia Woolf as a novelist of assertion. So, what is the meaning of assertion? Basically, she clearly expresses strong ideas in her writing. So she didn't just tell stories, she used her novels to show her view about the society, women's freedom, time, identity, and mental health. Though her characters and their thoughts, she asserted, it means strongly sad. Assertion, stronger. So that women should be equal, that people should be understood deeply, and that life is more than just what we see on the outside. Her novels are full of messages and meaning, not just simple plots. She spoke about against the war, against old tradition, and for change and peace. In books like Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse, Woolf didn't sit silent. She boldly shared her feeling, making her a true novelist of her assertion. So, Virginia Woolf writing ideological and literary traits. What are its? So, ideological means her main ideas and belief. So belief in women's freedom, criticism of society against war, inner life is important. And so Woolf believed women should have equal right, freedom to think, speak, and write. She wanted women to have their own identity. She questioned how society treated women and poor people. She didn't like how the world was controlled by men. She was against violence and war. In her novel, she showed how war affects people mentally and emotionally. Woolf believed that what happened inside a person's minds, in their thought, dream, and feelings, is just as important as what happened outside. And the literary trait of Virginia Woolf, it means her writing style and her method. So narrative technique is stream of consciousness style. So she used a special writing style that show how the thought move in how the thoughts move in the mind, just like a real thinking without stopping. No strong plot. Her novel don't always have a big story. Instead, she focused on a feeling, time passing, and deep thinking. Focus on time and memory. She showed how people remember the past while living in the present. Time moved in a strange way in her writing. Complex character. Her characters are deep, thoughtful, and emotional. She showed what people inside, not just what they do. Poetic language. Her words often feel like poetry, soft, thoughtful, and emotional. Okay, now let's move on to the Block 3, Unit 3 and 4, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. So let's look the introduction. Mrs. Dalloway is a famous English novel written by Virginia Woolf. It was published in the year 1925. The story takes place in London and it happens all in one single day. The main character is Clarissa Dalloway, a woman who is getting ready to host a big party in the evening. As she goes through her day, Clarissa thinks deeply about her past, her choices, her feelings, and the meaning of life. At the same time, another story is happening in the city. The story of Septimus Vernon Smith, a soldier who fought in World War I and is now suffering from mental illness. Virginia Woolf uses a special writing called stream of consciousness where we read the character thought just as they come into their mind, without long explanation or perfect order. This makes us feel very close to the characters and their emotion. The novel shows us many important things: how people think, how they feel alone, even in a big city, how war affect the mind, how life and death are always connected. Even though Clarissa and Septimus never meet, their stories are connected through their deep thoughts about life. Mrs. Dalloway is not just a story about one day, it is a story about the heart, the mind, and the small thing in life that have big meanings. So let's overview the characters in this novel. First one is Clarissa Dalloway. Clarissa is the main character of the novel. She is a woman in her early 50s living in London. She is a part of her upper class and is married to Richard Dalloway on the day the story takes place. She is preparing to host a big evening party. Clarissa often thinks deeply about her past, her life choices, and the meaning of happiness. She remembers her old love for Peter Walsh and her strong friendship with Sally Seton. Even though she seems happy from the outside, she often feels lonely and wonder if her life truly matters. Septimus Vernon Smith. So he is a young man who fought in World War I and is now suffering from a mental illness like PTSD. He sees and hears things that are not real, like the voice of his dead friend, like Evans. He feels that the world around him does not understand his pain, even the doctor fails to help him. Septimus is married to Rezia, who loves him but feels helpless. In the end, he becomes so full of pain that he takes his own life. His story runs alongside Clarissa, and though they never meet, their emotions feel connected. Peter Walsh. Peter was once in love with Clarissa and wanted to marry her, but she said no. He has now returned to London from India and still has a strong feeling for her. When he visits her, their meeting is full of deep, unspoken emotion. Peter is emotional, romantic, and still hurt by the past. He often compares his life with what it could have been if Clarissa had chosen him. At Clarissa's party, he watches her and still feels that strong connection. Elizabeth Dalloway. Elizabeth is Clarissa's teenage daughter. She is quite thoughtful and very different from her mother. She is still trying to understand who she is and what she wants in life. Sometimes she feels far away from Clarissa and doesn't fully understand her world. Elizabeth is close to her history teacher, Miss Kilman, who does not like Clarissa. Elizabeth represents the younger generation which is beginning to think differently from their parents. Razia. Lucrezia Warren Smith. So Razia is Septimus' wife. She is originally from Italy and tries her best to take care of Septimus. She loves him and wants him to be happy again, but she does not understand his mental illness fully. She feels scared and lost as she watches him suffer more each day. Razia's sadness grows throughout the story and she is heartbroken when Septimus takes his life. Sally Seton. So Sally was Clarissa's close friend in her youth. She was wild, free, and very different from the people Clarissa usually knew. Clarissa once felt a strong emotional bond with Sally and even had feelings of love for her. Sally now lives far away, is married, and has children. When she comes to Clarissa's party, the two women talk after many years, and Clarissa remembers how exciting life felt when Sally was around. Richard Dalloway. So Richard is Clarissa's husband. He's a kind and respectable man who works in politics. He truly cares for Clarissa but doesn't often express his love openly. He believes in living a proper life and following rules. He once tries to tell Clarissa he loves her by buying her flower, but he cannot say the word. Richard represents safety and stability in Clarissa's life but not emotional excitement. Miss Doris Kilman. So Miss Doris Kilman is Elizabeth's history tutor. She is smart and serious, but not liked by Clarissa. Miss Kilman is very religious and sometimes feels angry or bitter toward people like Clarissa who live a life of comfort. She tries to pull Elizabeth closer to her way of thinking, which worries Clarissa. Miss Kilman also represents a kind of unhappiness that comes from feeling rejected by society. So here we will look about overall summary. So now our new movie started. Mrs. Dalloway. So beginning a busy morning in London. Mrs. Dalloway is a famous novel written by Virginia Woolf and published in 1925. The story happens in one single day in London during June and follows the life of Clarissa Dalloway, a rich woman in her 50s. Clarissa wakes up early and goes out to buy flowers for a party she will host in the evening. As she walks through the streets, the sounds and smell of the city remind her of youthful days. She remembers her old friend and love, Peter Walsh, and how she once felt so alive. Clarissa had many dreams and strong feelings back then, but in the end, she married Richard Dalloway, a calm and kind man, instead of Peter. The memory makes her feel both happy and sad, as she wonders what her life could have been if she had chosen differently. Clarissa's inner world. Throughout the day, Clarissa's mind is full of thoughts and emotion, even though her life looks perfect from outside. A big house, a loving husband, and a social respect, she still feels something is missing. She remembers her deep friendship with Sally Seton, a bold and free-spirited girl she loved in a very special way. Now her world feels proper and controlled. She wonders if she has become just what society wanted, a good wife and hostess, and not who she really wanted to be. Clarissa often hides her feeling behind a smile, but deep inside she questions if she is truly happy and alive. Next part is meeting Peter Walsh. In the afternoon, Peter Walsh unexpectedly visits Clarissa. He has come back from India and still carries a strong feeling of her. Their conversation is polite, but their emotions under the surface. Peter remembers how Clarissa rejected him years ago. Clarissa, too, feels a mix of care and regret. She knows that Peter could have given her more exciting life full of adventure, but she chose Richard for safety and peace. Their meeting reminds both of them how the past still lives inside them even after many years. Introduction of Septimus Warren Smith. When Clarissa is busy with her day, in another part of London, a young man named Septimus Warren Smith walks with his wife Razia. Septimus is a war veteran who fought in World War I, and now he is mentally disturbed. He sees things that are not real and hears voices, especially the voice of his dead friend Evans, who died in the war. Razia tries hard to help him, but Septimus feels alone and broken. He cannot understand the world around him, and the world cannot understand him either. His pain is deep, but no one listens. Septimus breakdown. So Septimus visits different doctors, but they only tell him to be normal and ignore what he really feels. No one understands that he is suffering from severe trauma and grief. His thoughts become darker and he feels like he has no escape. He believes the world is trying to steal his soul and truth. His pain becomes so strong that he finally decides to end his life by jumping from a window. His death is tragic. But it is also his final act of resistance, a way of saying he will not let the world control his mind. Elizabeth Dalloway and the Next Generation. Clarissa's daughter Elizabeth is also a part of the story. She is a quiet and thoughtful 17-year-old girl who's growing into a young woman. Clarissa sometimes feels distant from her, wondering what kind of future Elizabeth will choose. Elizabeth spends time with her history tutor, Miss Kilman, who is very religious and does not like Clarissa. Elizabeth is caught between the two worlds, the world of her mother's social class and a new, more independent way of living. Through Elizabeth, we see the younger generation beginning to question old tradition. Inner lives and connection. Clarissa and Septimus are very different people, but their inner thoughts are strangely similar. Clarissa feels empty and unsure even her rich and social life. Septimus feels lost and tortured after the war. Though they never meet, their mind deal with the same big question: what does it mean to live, to be happy, to feel free? Virginia Woolf used this connection to show that even strangers can share the same hidden struggle. Public life versus private life. As Clarissa prepares for her evening party, she tries to make everything perfect. She wants people to be happy and enjoy themselves, but inside she still feels confused and tired. She wonders if being a good hostess is really so important. People think Clarissa is elegant and graceful, but they don't see her loneliness or her deep thoughts. She feels the pressure of being a woman who always has to smile even when she wants to cry. Clarissa hides her true self behind social role. The tragic decision. Septimus' pain becomes too much to bear. Even though Razia is with him, he feels trapped. He fears the doctor will take away his thoughts and memories, so in a moment of fear and clarity, he chooses to jump out of a window and end his life. Razia is heartbroken, but the part of her understands Septimus couldn't find peace in a world that never listened. His death is sad, but it also shows the failure of society to care of broken soul. Evening party at Dalloway's. In the evening, Clarissa's party began. The house was full of guests, old friend, politician, and family member. Clarissa greets everyone with a smile, but she still feels a little empty inside. Peter Wash is at the party, watching her with mixed feelings. Sally Sutton also come, and they talk about their past. For a moment, Clarissa feels a spark of her old self. During the party, she hears about a young man, Septimus, who has taken his life. Even though she never knew him, the news shakes her deeply. Clarissa's reflection on Septimus. Clarissa thinks quietly about the man who died. She understands his pain. Even though they were strangers, she sees his death as a kind of truth, a way of refusing to pretend or follow society's rule. This makes her reflect on her own life. Is she also hiding behind role and smile? She feels sad but also grateful to be alive. Septimus' choice helps her see life more clearly. His death becomes part of her awakening. Clarissa quiet strength. Even after hearing about Septimus' suicide, Clarissa continues the party. She doesn't cry or break down, but inside she feels something has changed. She just stands quietly by the window, thinking about life. She feels that even the smallest moment matter. She knows life will be confusing and hard, but now she wants to live fully, to be aware of every second and not to hide her feeling anymore. She realizes that being alive is a gift. Ending and meaning. The novel ends not with a big drama but with a quiet, deep feeling. Clarissa is still the same woman in the same house with the same body, but her heart is more open now. She understands that life is full of opposite joy and sadness, past and present, love and pain. Septimus chooses death, but Clarissa chooses to live. Through this, Virginia Woolf showed that every small action and thought is important. The novel teaches us to look deeper, not just at others, but at ourselves. So live for yourself. Let's discuss the theme of this novel. Number 1, time and memory. The whole novel takes place in one single day, but we keep going back and forth between the present and past through the character memory. Everyone is thinking about their past, like Clarissa remembering her youth, and Peter thinking about the time Clarissa rejected his proposal. Number 2, loneliness and inner feeling. Many characters feel lonely inside, even if they seem fine outside. They have deep emotion but don't always show them. They are thinking, remembering, and questioning their lives silently. Mental health and war. The story shows how deeply war affects the minds of people, especially soldiers. Septimus is a soldier who came back from war and now suffers from mental illness, PTSD. The doctors don't help him properly and people don't understand what he is going through. Number 4, death and the meaning of life. So the book talks about a lot about the death, not just physical death, but also the idea of what it means to truly live. Clarissa thinks about growing old and Septimus feels life has no meaning, but at the same time, the story also shows moments of beauty in life. Number 5, love and relationship. There are many kinds of love shown: romantic love, friendship, and lost love. The characters think a lot about who they once loved, who they are with now, and what love really means. Number 6, class and society. The novel shows how people in society are judged by their class, by rich or poor, and how that affects their lives and relationships. It also shows how people try to act proper or fit into society's expectation. Number 7, identity and the self. Characters wonder, who am I really? They try to understand themselves better Through their past, their choices, and their emotion, the stories show that identity is not just what others see but what we feel inside. And here the symbol of this novel. Number one, Big Ben, the clock. So Big Ben, the clock in London is a strong symbol in the story. It keeps ringing throughout the day, reminding everyone that time is passing. It shows how people cannot stop time and how life keep moving. For Clarissa, it reminds her of aging, the past, and how little time is left. It also connects the character as they all hear the same chimes at different moments. Number two, the party. So Clarissa party is not just a social event, it is a symbol of how people try to connect with the other. On the outside, everything looks happy and perfect, but on the inside, many people feel lonely and confused. The party show how people hide their real feeling behind smile and polite talk. For Clarissa, it is also a way to feel important and create meaning in her life. Number three is flower. So basically, flower appear many times in the story. Clarissa go out to buy flower at the beginning, and they are seen during the party too. Flowers are beautiful, but they don't last long. Just like life, they represent both beauty and shortness of time. Flower also show Clarissa love for small, lovely moments in life. You remember I told you the Clarissa husband also want to give her a flower, but he is not emotionally attached with her, right? So now, number four, Septimus' suicide. Septimus' death is a very powerful symbol. It also shows how deeply someone can suffer when they are not understood. His suicide is not just a sad ending, it shows how society failed to care of people with mental health problems. For Clarissa, hearing about his death make her think about life and death in a new way. The sky and nature. So, the sky, trees, and other parts of nature often appear in the story when characters are lost in thought. For Septimus, the sky sometimes feels full of messages for others. Nature gives peace or help them think clearly. Nature is used as a symbol of freedom, beauty, and the mystery of life. Now let's discuss the previous year question paper. Previous year questions. I don't know what is happening with me. Okay, so how does Virginia Woolf use stream of consciousness in Mrs. Dalloway? So this is again the same line and same answer. Okay, like from the present moment to old memory, they jump from one thing to another. See inside the character's mind and show what they're thinking all the time. And you can write for example, you can write the story example, any okay. How does Virginia Woolf show the character of Septimus Warren Smith in Mrs. Dalloway? So Virginia Woolf shows Septimus Warren Smith as a deeply sad and broken man who fought in World War I. After the war, he come back to London but cannot live a normal life again. He sees things that are not real and hear voices. He think about death and feel very scared and confused inside. People around him do not understand him. His wife Razia tries to help him, but even she cannot truly understand how much pain he feels. The doctor he meets don't listen to him. They tell him to act normal, but he cannot. This makes him feel more alone. Woolf shows that Septimus is not just mad, he is a sensitive person who was hurt by the war and by the world. Woolf used stream of consciousness to let us see inside Septimus' mind. We see his thought jumping from the past to present, from love to fear, and from hope to sadness. We feel his pain and confusion very closely. In the end, Septimus takes his own life because he feels there is no other way to protect his thought and feeling from the outside world. Through Septimus, Woolf shows the real pain of war, the failure of the medical system, and how lonely people can feel even in a big city like London. Next question, consider Mrs. Dalloway as a typical stream of consciousness novel. Again, it is a great example of stream of consciousness novel. You have to write the definition of stream consciousness novel. And then you can write the Virginia Woolf uses this style to show the character feeling deep inside, and then again you have to write the example. Basically, these questions are all interconnected again. So, in case tomorrow exam, if any question appear from the topic of stream of consciousness novel, you can write the definition and then you can write an example of Mrs. Dalloway. Okay, because this is all about the inside thinking, feeling, okay? So you can just write it down. Don't worry, it is easy. Now, block 3 and 4 completed. And now let's move on to the next block, which is a poetry section. The Second Coming. So, The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats. The poem The Second Coming was written by the famous Irish poet W.B. Yeats in 1919 and was published in 1920. This poem was written just after World War I, when the world had seen a lot of violence, death, and destruction. People had lost hope, and everything felt out of control. The poem talks about how the world is breaking apart and losing its balance. Yeats feels that something very powerful and scary is about to come, maybe a new age, but not a good one. The title, The Second Coming, usually means the return of Jesus Christ, but in this poem, Yeats sees the second coming as something dark and dangerous, not peaceful. So in this poem is about a world in chaos, and the poet feared that something terrible is coming in the future. Stanza-wise explanation. Stanza 1. Turning and turning in the whitening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed and everywhere. So here, the poet describes a world that is spinning out of control. A falcon bird is flying in big, wide circle and cannot hear its master, the falconer. This shows that people are not listening to rules, values, or guidance anymore. Everything is breaking apart, and the center, balance, or control is no longer strong. The world is filled with confusion and destruction like a wave of blood spreading everywhere. This shows that something terrible is happening in the world. Stanza 2. The ceremony of innocence is drowned, the best lack of all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand, surely the second coming is at hand. Here the explanation, innocent people and good values are being destroyed, the best people are quiet and unsure, while the worst people are full of strong feeling and doing bad things confidently. This is very dangerous. The poet feels that something big is about to happen, a revelation, maybe the second coming, which means the return of Jesus or a big change in the world. Stanza 3. The second coming hardly are those words out, when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi. It troubles my sight, somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. So here, as soon as the poet thinks about the second coming, he sees as a frightening image from the Spiritus Mundi, a kind of shared human memory or soul. In the desert, he sees a strange creature with a lion's body and a man's head. Its eyes are cold and cruel. Like the hot sun, this creature looks powerful but dangerous, not holy or kind. Stanza 4 is moving its slow thighs while all about it, real shadows of their indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and water of beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be reborn. So here the scary creature walks slowly in the desert while angry birds fly around it. Then everything becomes dark again, but the poet understands something. For 2000 years the world has been sleeping since the time of Jesus' birth, the rocking cradle. But now that sleep is turning into a nightmare, and something evil is coming. A rough beast is on his way to Bethlehem, and the place where Jesus was born, but this time it's bringing fear and destruction, not peace. So here are the overall summary. The poem Second Coming is written by W.B. Yeats in 1919 after the World War I, when the world was full of violence, fear, and problem. People were worried and everything felt broken. In this poem, Yeats talks about how the world is changing, but not in a good way. He feels that something bad is coming. So at the starting of the poem, the poet talks about a falcon bird flying in a big circle and not listening to his master, the falconer. This means that people are not following rules or value anymore. Everything is getting out of control. He says things fall apart, the center cannot hold, which means the world is breaking down and cannot stay balanced. There is this fighting, blood, and chaos everywhere. In the next line, he says that good people are quiet and confused, and bad people are loud and full of anger. The world feels upside down. Upside down, I remember the Stranger Things series. The poet feels like something big is about to happen, and he calls it the second coming. Normally the second coming means Jesus returning to the world to bring peace, but there the poet thinks that something scary is coming instead. Then the poet says that he sees a strange image in his mind. He sees a big creature in the desert. It has the body of a lion and the head of a man. Its eyes are cold and cruel like the hot sun. This creature does not look kind. It looks like it will bring fear and destruction, not peace. This image, the poet say, comes from the Spiritus Mundi, which means the shared memory or spirit of the world. It's like a scary vision from the world's soul. In the last part of the poem, the creature starts walking slowly and angry birds fly around it. Then everything becomes dark again. The poets say that the world has been asleep for 2000 years since the time of Jesus, but now the sleep has become a nightmare. Something dark and wild is about to be reborn in Bethlehem. the same place where Jesus was born, but this time it is not a peaceful savior, it is a rough beast that will bring fear and destruction. So basically, in short, the poem says that the world is in trouble and the future looks scary. Yeats believed that a dark power is coming not to help but to bring chaos. He is warning us about the bad direction the world is going in. So here the conclusion. The WBEs tell that the world is not peaceful anymore, people have lost control and bad things are happening everywhere. He feels that a big change is coming, but this change is not good. Instead of hope and peace, the future seems scary and full of danger. The poet imagined a strange and cruel creature coming into the world. This showed that he believed the future may bring more violence, fear, and confusion. This poem is like a warning, telling us that if we don't live with truth, peace, and kindness, then something bad may happen. So the poem message is simple. The world must be careful because what comes next might not be good if we continue doing wrong things. So let's talk about the historical context of the second coming poem, because this question appears many times in a short note. So even though Yeats does not directly say it, the poem was written in 1919 just after World War I ended. This war killed around 20 million people and many others were badly injured. The world was in shock, fear and confusion. People felt that everything was falling apart. This is shown in the first line of the poem. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Yeats also seemed to predict the future like the rise of a dangerous leader. His lines, the worst are full of passionate intensity, remind us of people like Adolf Hitler, who would come later and start the World War II. Even though Yeats was not a prophet, his word felt like a warning that the world could become worse if we don't learn from our mistake. The poem mixes history and religion and gives us a message. If the world keeps becoming more violent and evil, something terrible may take the place of a hope and peace. So the poem connects the historical event of war with the religious belief in the second coming of Christ. But instead of savior, Yeats sees as a frightening future. Here's the biblical context. So in this poem, it is inspired by a part of the Bible called the Book of Revelation. This is the last book in the New Testament and it talks about the end of the world and the return of Jesus Christ. The word revelation also means something being shown or revealed. In Christianity, people believe that Jesus will return again one day. This is called the second coming or the second advent. During this time, Jesus will punish evil, reward good people, and start his heavenly rule. The Bible talks about this in many places, especially in the Gospels and the book of Revelation. Yeats takes this religious idea and uses it in his poem. But instead of a peaceful return, he imagines a scary and darkful future. Here's the cyclical theory of history. Yeats shows his belief that history moves in cycle like a circle or a wheel that keeps turning again and again, again and again. So what does it mean? Yeats believes that time doesn't go in a straight line. Instead, good and bad time again and again, just like day and night or summer and winter. He said that every 2000 years the world goes through a big change. First come a peaceful period, then a dark violent time. And then again a peaceful period and then dark violent time. It's again idea of gyres. Yeats used the word gyres to explain this. A gyre is like a spiral circle. It keeps turning and spreading. He believed one gyre ends and a new one begins, and that's when huge changes happen in the world. In the poem, Yeats writes, turning and turning in the winding gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. This means that the old world is spinning out of control. People are not listening and the chaos is coming. New age is coming, but not a peaceful one. So what is this? Although Yeats believed that the peaceful time after Christ's birth, the last 2000 years, is now ending. And now the new age is starting, but instead of hope and peace, it brings fear and danger. It talks about the rough beast that is coming, which shows that the next cycle may be dark and scary. In short, second coming shows the cyclical theory of history. Yeats believed that the world goes through this repeating cycle of rise and fall. The old world is ending and a new, possibly terrible, again age is beginning. It's like a wheel turning, good and bad, keep coming back again and again. So, Yeats and the Irish literary movement. This short note also appeared many times in the previous year question paper, so just read it. No matter whether it will come more in exam or not, but you have to just read it. So, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, a big change happened in Irish writing. This change was called the Irish Literary Revival. Many writers and poets started to write more about Irish culture, story, and language. They wanted to bring back interest in old Irish tradition. This movement was also linked to Irish nationalism, which means love for Ireland and the desire for freedom from British rule. One important group was the Gaelic League, started in 1893. It worked to save the Irish language and culture. Many people, including writers, were inspired by this. W.B. Yeats was a very important part of this movement. He loved Ireland deeply and wanted to show his beauty, story, and problem through his writing. He helped to start the Abbey Theatre, which was Ireland's first national theatre. Even though he didn't write many plays, he supported the Irish drama and culture a lot. Yeats believed the art and politics are connected. He used poems to share his idea about the Ireland's history and politics. His early poems talk about the Irish myth and countryside. He used old Irish heroes like Oisin and Cuckoo Lane to make people proud of their past. Later, as Yeats got more involved in Irish politics, inspired by people like Maud Gonne, his poem also became more political. He wrote about the Easter Rebellion of 1916, Irish freedom fighter, and even Ireland's role in World War One. Yeats believed that poems were not just for beauty; they could also teach, inform, and speak up about the political issues. Now let's talk about the symbolism of this poem. The falcon and the falconer. So, falcon is a bird that is trained by a human falconer. In the poem, the falcon flies too far away and can no longer hear its master. This is a symbol of the world losing control, like people not listening to rule or choirs spreading. So, basically, symbolism meaning loss of control, disconnection between the people and power, or between human and nature. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. So, basically, the meaning is society is falling into disorder and destruction by core of society is breaking down. The center stand for the order, rule, peace, or truth. When the center break, everything become confused and dangerous. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Anarchy means total chaos with no rule or peace. There is a symbol of war, violence, and confusion. The world is full of destruction and fear. The rough beast. At the end of the poem, the strange and scary beast is coming. It is slouching towards Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. But this beast is not good. It seems to bring destruction, not peace. So basically, a new dangerous time is coming. It may look powerful, but it brings fear. Sometimes it think beast is a symbol of a evil war and a bad future. So therefore, it used symbol to show that the world is changing and the change is frightening, not like a peaceful. The poem show how our system are breaking and something new and scary is coming. He didn't say everything clearly. He just used images and symbols to read the clear, so that the reader could feel the danger and think deeply about this. Now our next poem will be Journey of the Magi, T.S. Eliot. Journey of Magi is a well-known poem written by T.S. Eliot and published in 1927. It tells the story of the three wise men, Magi, who traveled a long way to see the birth of Jesus Christ. But the poem does not show the journey as happy or exciting. Instead, it shows it as hard, painful, and confusing. The poem is spoken by one of the Magi. Many years after the journey, he remembers the cold weather, tired camels, rude people, and how they often doubted their decision. When they finally saw the baby Jesus, it didn't feel like a happy moment. Instead, it felt like the end of their old life and start of something new and strange. They felt lost and unsure in their world after that. This poem talks about the change, faith, and how starting a new path can sometimes be painful and confusing. T.S. Eliot wrote this poem after he became a Christian. So it also shows his own feeling about the spiritual change and faith. In short, this poem is not just about the journey to see Jesus, but it is also about the inner change, confusion, and struggle of letting go to the old to accept something new. So let's talk stanza-wise explanation. A cold coming, we had of it just the worst time of the year. For a journey and such a long journey, the way deep and the weather drop, the very dead of winter. Here the speakers say, one of the three wise men, Magi, remember how cold and difficult their journey was. It was winter, it the worst time to travel, and the path was tough and dangerous. These lines show that the journey to see baby Jesus was not easy or pleasant. It was uncomfortable and full of struggle from the very start. And the camels galloped, sore-footed, refractory, lying down in the melting snow. There were times we regretted the summer palaces on slope, the terraces, and the silken girls bringing sherbet. Their camels were tired and in pain, refusing to move. The snow made it worse. The Magi started to miss their comfortable home, warm weather, and a rich, easy life. They even regretted coming on this trip. Their path showed the doubt and discomfort as they leave behind a royal life to follow a star. Then the camel man, cursing and grumbling and running away and wanting their liquor orange woman, and the night flies going out and the lack of shelter, and the cities hostile and the towns unfriendly, and the villages dirty and charging high prices, which means the people helping them, like camel drivers, were angry and unhelpful. There was no good place to rest. The cities and towns were unwelcoming, and everything was expensive and dirty. These lines show the hardship and loneliness they faced. The journey seemed to be getting worse at every step. A hard time we had of it. At the end, we preferred to travel all night, sleeping in snatches with a voice singing in our ears, saying that this was all folly. What did it say? They had a very hard time. Things got so tough that they decided to travel even at night, barely sleeping. They heard voices in their head, maybe from the doubt or others, saying that their journey was foolish. This part showed the confusion, mental tiredness, and uncertainty they felt. Then at dawn we came down to Temperate Valley, wet below the snow line, smelling of vegetation, white with the running stream and the watermill beating the darkness, and tree on the low sky. And an old white horse galloped away in the meadow. Here, after a long struggle, they finally reached a peaceful and green place. There was water, trees, and the weather was very better. But Eliot adds, mysterious symbol like tree, maybe for Jesus and the two thieves on the cross, and the white horse, which could mean the death or change. It shows that something big and serious is about to happen. Then we came to tavern with a wine leaf over the lintel, six hand at an open door, dicing for a piece of silver, and feet kicking the empty wine skins. But there were no transformations, so we continued and arrived at evening, not a moment too soon. They saw a tavern, basically an inn, and people gambling for money, possibly a hint at Judas betraying Judas for silver, but no one could guide them, so they continued the journey and finally arrived at the place just in time. The stanzas show how the world was unaware or careless about the birth of the something great. Finding the place, it was, you may say, satisfactory. All this was a long time ago, I remember, and I would do it again, but sit down, this, sat down. This were we led all the way for. Here they found the place where Jesus was born. The speaker called it satisfactory, meaning it was important but not joyful. He says it happened long ago, but he still remembered it clearly. Now he questions the journey. Was it really for the birth of something new or also the death of something old? And the last. Birth or death, there was a birth, certainly. We had evidence and no doubt. I had seen birth and death, but had thought they were different. The birth was hard and bitter agony for us, like death our death. We returned to our places, these kingdom, but no longer it is here in the old dispensation. With an alien people clutching their gods, I should be glad of another death. So here what the poet says, the speaker says, know that they witnessed a birth, but it felt more like a death of their old life and old belief. After seeing their new truth, Jesus, they couldn't go back to their old ways. They felt like outsiders in their own land. The speaker now wait for another kind of death, maybe spiritual peace or heaven. It shows how spiritual change can be painful but necessary. Here's the overall summary. Uh, Basically, it is the stanza-wise summary. Just read it by yourself, okay? I will read you the critical analysis of the journey of the Magi. So here, the theme. Basically, what should write in a critical analysis is basically you have to write the themes, symbol, and the literary devices, language and tone, deeper meaning, personal struggle and doubt. Yes, it was all literary devices. So basically, what is the theme of this poem? So the main theme of this poem is spiritual change. It talks about a new beginning like the birth of Jesus and can feel confusing or even painful. The poem also shows the idea of leaving behind an old life and starting a new one. It tells us that deep change, even when good, is not always easy or joyful. The Magi, wise man, feel lost after seeing the birth because they can't go back to their old way of life. What are the symbol of this poem? The journey stand for the path of life or search for truth. Cold weather, rough road, pain show the hard path of change. Birth and death are both symbols here. The birth of Christ also feel like a death to the Magi, the death of their old belief. The cities and people who don't help them symbolize the world not ready to change. Language and tone. The language is simple but deep. Eliot uses clear words to describe the journey but gives them spiritual meaning. The tone is serious, sad, and thoughtful. It feels like a speaker is remembering something important from the past and still trying to understand it. Deeper meaning. The poem is not just about the three wise men, it also shows Eliot's own feeling about after becoming a Christian. He wants to show that faith and belief are not always happy or easy. The true spiritual change can feel like losing your old self, but it leads to something better. The Magi are confused and don't feel at home in the old world after seeing something new and powerful. Personal struggle and doubt. The poem talks about inner struggle. Even though the Magi found what they were looking for, they still feel unsure. This shows how even after finding truth or God, people may feel lost or not fully peace right away. It takes time to adjust to new belief or way of life. Use of the literary devices. Eliot used many literary devices in this poem like imagery, symbol, metaphor, irony, first person voice, enjambment. And here are the final thought of this poem. Eliot's journey of the Magi is more than just a story of the three wise men. It shows a pain and confusion that come with a deep change, especially spiritual change. It reminds us that growth is not always easy. Even good things like faith and truth can feel hard and forced. Though simple language and deep idea, Eliot share how new beginnings often start with discomfort, but they lead us to the better understanding of life. Biblical background of journey of the Magi. Okay, so biblical the poem Journey of Magi is based on a story from the Bible in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 2. In this story, after the birth of Jesus Christ in Bethlehem, some wise men from the east, called the Magi, saw a bright star in the sky. They believed it was a sign that a great king had been born, so they started a long and difficult journey to find the baby. The Magi traveled on camel, passed through the desert and town, and faced many hardships. Finally, they reached Bethlehem and saw baby Jesus with Mary and Joseph. They gave three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and bowed down in respect. After this, they returned to their home country using a different road, as they were warned in a dream not to go back to King Herod, who wanted to kill the baby. T.S. Eliot used this biblical story as the base of his poem, but in the poem, the wise man Magi is not very happy. He remembered the journey as painful and confusing. The weather was bad, the camels were tired, and the people they met were not helpful. When they finally reached the place of birth, it didn't feel like a happy ending. Instead, it felt like an end of an old life and the start of something new, which they didn't fully understand. Eliot showed that the journey was not only physical but also spiritual. The Magi had changed the inside. After seeing Jesus, their old way of thinking didn't feel right anymore. The poem talks about faith, change, confusion, and the pain of spiritual growth. It is a deep and meaningful poem based on simple story from the Bible. What is the Christian theme in the poem? The poem Journey of the Magi has a strong Christian theme because it is based on the story of the birth of Jesus Christ. It shows the journey of the three wise men who traveled to see baby Jesus, but the poem is not just about the journey, it also talks about how meeting Jesus changed the life of a wise man. In Christianity, Jesus' birth means the beginning of a new spiritual world. The old way of life ends and the new faith starts. The Magus in the poem feel confused because he can't connect with his old belief anymore. This shows the deep message of Christianity that true faith comes with pain, change, and new way of seeing life. The poem talks about birth and death together. Jesus' birth is joyful, but for the Magos, it also feels like a kind of death for his old self. This is a mix of joy and pain, is a very Christian idea. So the poem is not just a travel story, it is about an inner change, spiritual awakening, and how meeting Christ changes everything. Symbol of this poem, basically winter and harsh weather, the camels and camel man, 3 trees, 6 hands dicing for silver, empty wineskins, the journey itself. Cities and peoples who ignore the journey, the birthplace, Jesus' birth, the voice of the old Magus, the speaker, death and birth together. So here we are done our second poem. Now let's move on to the third poem. The Unknown Citizen by W.H. Auden. The Unknown Citizen is a poem written by W.H. Auden in 1939. It is a satirical poem that means it makes fun of society in a clever way. The poem talks about a man who lived an ideal life according to the government. The man is called the Unknown Citizen, like a nameless person. He is remembered for doing everything society wanted. He worked, paid taxes, had a family, never protested. Auden shows us that this kind of perfection is not real life. No one knows if this man was ever happy or free because no one cared to ask. The poem criticizes how government and modern society treat people like machines, useful only when they follow orders and stay quiet. It tells us to think, is a life without feelings, question, or freedom really a good life? So here, the stanza-wise explanation. To JS07M378, this marble monument is erected by the state. He was found by the Bureau of Statistics to be one against whom there was no official complaint. These lines introduce a man who has died, but instead of using his real name, he is given a number like a filer ID. This shows how society treats people like number, not individual. A monument is made for him by the government. The Bureau of Statistics say that there was no complaint against him, meaning he was always followed the rules and never caused any problem. And all the reports on his conduct agree that in the modern sense of an old-fashioned word, he was a saint. For in everything he did, he served the greater community, except for the war, till the day he retired. He worked in a factory and never got fired. So everyone got checked his life, agreed that he behaved well. He is even called a saint, not because he was holy, but because he never disobeyed or questioned anything. He lived his life, serving society. He worked in a factory for many years, from after the war until I retired, and never lost his job, which shows he was obedient and hardworking and satisfied his employer's first motives including. Yet he was not a scab or odd in his view, for his union reported he paid his due. On report, his union showist was sound, and our social psychology worker found. His company, First Motor, was happy with his work. He was not just against his co-worker and didn't create problem. He was a loyal union member and regularly paid his fees. The government even checked the union and found it to be reliable. Psychologists who studied his social life said he behaved like a normal person, that he was popular with his mates and liked to drink. The press are convinced that he bought a paper every day, and that his reaction to advertisements were normal in every way. Police is taken out in his name. Sorry, policy is taken out in his name prove that he was fully insured, and his health card show he was once in a hospital but left it cured. His co-worker liked him and he enjoyed having drink just like many people do. Newspapers say he read the newspaper daily and reacted to ads like a normal citizen, meaning he followed trend and didn't like differently. He had full insurance showing he was responsible, and his health records show he was once sick but got better. Everything about him was average and acceptable to society. Both producers, research, and high-grade living declare he was fully sensible to the advantages of the installment plan and had everything necessary for the modern man: a phonograph, a radio, a car, and a free dare. Our researchers into public opinion and content that he held a proper opinion for the time of fear. Research companies said he was smart because he used installment plan to buy things just like many people do. He had all modern time, a music player, a radio, a car, and a fridge. They show he was living like an ideal modern man. People who study public opinion said he believed what most believed at that time. He never questioned the system and followed what society expected. When there were peace, he was for peace. When there was a war, he went. He was married and added 5 children to the population, whichever eugenists say was the right number for a parent of his generation. And our teacher report that he never interfered with their education. Was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd, and anything went wrong we should certainly have heard. So basically, he supported peace when there was no war and went to war when needed. He followed the government without question. He got married and had 5 children, which experts said was perfect number for his time. He didn't disturb his children's schooling, meaning he didn't ask too many questions. In the end, the speaker sarcastically asked, was he free? Was he happy? And say that's a silly question, because if he was not happy, the government would have known. This is irony. The poem showed that society only care about whether people follow rules, not whether they are truly happy or free. So here are the overall summary. You can read it by yourself, because if I read it then the video will be long enough. Okay, so W.H. Auden as a war poet. So W.H. Auden is called a war poet because he wrote many poems during the time of war, especially around the World War II. But he did not just write about soldier fighting or the battlefield. Instead, he wrote about the pain, fear, and confusion that war brought into the lives of the ordinary people. He showed how war made the world feel cold, uncaring, and full of rule. In his poem, you can see how government started controlling people's lives and how people began to lose their freedom and their emotion. Auden also questioned the purpose of war. He wanted readers to think deeply. Why are people fighting? What is happening to kindness and love in a world full of war? His poem do not give easy answer, but they show us the reality of modern life during war, where people follow rules blindly and lose their own thinking. So Auden is a war poet because he looked at war not just as fight between the country, but as a deep problem inside human society. He wrote about the mental and emotional effect of war. His poem helps us understand how war changes people's thoughts, feelings, and daily lives. So here are the important PYQ. How Auden mixes satire and elegy in The Unknown Citizen to show modern life. You can read it, okay? And now next, our last poem is I Think Continually of Those Who Were Truly Great by Stephen Spender. So here's the introduction of this poem. The poem I Think Continually of Those Who Were Truly Great is written by Stephen Spender, a well-known British poet. It was published in 1933 in his poetry collection called Poem. During a time when the world was going through many changes, war, struggle, and social problems, Spender was deeply influenced by these things, and he often wrote about people who stood up for truth, justice, and goodness. In this poem, the poet thinks deeply about those people who lived meaningful and honest lives. These people were not great because of money, fame, or power, but because they followed their soul, their inner voice. They lived with love, passion, and a strong desire to be good in the world. The poet respects them and wants us to remember them. Through this poem, Spender teaches us to live with purpose, truth, and heart. Just like the truly great people of the past, it is a beautiful and emotional tribute to those who made a difference by simply being kind, brave, and full of spirit. Here's the stanza-wise explanation. Let me read it for you. I think continually of those who were truly great, who from the womb remembered the soul's history through corridor of light where the house are sun, ours are suns, endless are singing, whose lovely ambition. In this stanza, the poet says he always think about truly great people, those who were good, wise, and kind. From birth, they seem to remember the soul deep meaning. They lived in a world full of light and joy, like sunshine and music. Their greatest desire was to live with spirit and purpose. Was that their lips they still touched with fire should tell of the spirit clothed from head to foot in song, and who hoarded from the spring branches the desire falling across their bodies like blossom. The poet said that his people were filled with the spiritual fire, passion, and inspiration, which made them speak about the spirit of life. They were surrounded by beauty, nature, and dream. Just like flowers fall from the tree in spring, their hearts were full of beautiful desire and pure emotion. Stanza 3. What is precious is never to forget the sensual delight of the blood drawn from ageless spring, breaking through rock in world before our earth, never to deny its pleasure in the morning simple light, nor its grave evening demand for love. This stanza says we should never forget the true joy and energy that flow through our lives like water from ancient spring. This energy is natural, powerful, and has existed even before our birth. We should enjoy the simple beauty of morning and also respect the deep need for love in the quiet evening. Never to allow gradually the traffic to smother with noise and fog the flowering of the spirit. Here the poet gives a warning. He says we must not let the busy, noisy world take away our inner peace and spiritual growth. The traffic means modern life full of stress and destruction that can kill the quiet beauty inside us. Stanza 5. Near the snow, near the sun, in the higher field. See how these names are fitted by the waving grass and by the streamers of the white cloud and whisper of wind in the listening sky. In this stanza, Spanish say that nature remembered those great people in beautiful high places, near snow, sun, and open field. The wind, cloud, and grass all seem to celebrate their name. It's like the sky itself listens to their memory and honors them silently. Stanza 6. The name of those who in their life fought for life, who were at their heart the fairest center. Born of the sun, they traveled a short while toward the sun, and left the vivid air side with the honor. In the final stanza, the poet says these great people truly lived and fought for life. They carried a strong inner fire, meaning passion, love, and courage. They came from the light like the sun and returned to it. Even after they died, their honor and goodness remain in the air in the world around us. Here's the overall summary. You can read it by yourself because basically this is the stanza-wise explanation. Okay. So there are the important questions. Is significance of the title I think continually of those who were truly great? Because significance of the title. So the title of the poem is very important because it tells us exactly what the poet is thinking and feeling. When Stephen Spender say I think continually of those who were truly great, he means that he always remembered and admired people who lived with truly greatness. Not people who were rich, powerful, and famous, but those who were noble, kind, and full of spirits. They are the people who follow their heart and soul. They lived with a strong purpose and had big dream, worked for something good. The poet thinks such people are very special and should always be remembered. They lived with honest, brave, and beautiful lives, and they left a strong mark behind even after their death. The word truly in the title is also very important. It shows that the poet is not talking about people who just looked great on the outside, but about who were great from the inside in their thoughts, action, and feeling. It means basically, Stephen says that people should be beautiful from outside and inside. It doesn't matter if she is beautiful from the outside, external beauty and inside beauty, internal beauty. Okay, so internal beauty matters. So the title is meaningful because it tells us what the poem is about, the deep respect the poet has for people who live the truth, passion, and courage, and who made the world better by being themselves. These great souls lived only for a short time, but their memory and example will never fade. Here are the themes of the poem: greatness and inspiration, spiritual strength, remembrance and respect, nature and life, hope and motivation. Major influence on the poetry of the Stephen Spinner. This short note appears many times in the previous year question paper, so just read it. I don't know whether it will come or not, but just read it because this question appeared many times in the previous year question. So word war and social issues, his belief in humanity and justice, love for art and beauty, influence of other poets and writer, personal experiences. Okay, so our block 4 is also completed. We have already discussed the block 1, block 2, block 3 and block 4 of BEGC 112. So basically our BEGC 112 one short video completed. It is in 2 parts, and now I will upload all the 4 blocks in one video, so it will be easy for you all. Okay, otherwise it is the second part of this video. I hope you like this video, and if you like this, then please do subscribe and share this channel with your friends so that it can help them also. And thank you for supporting me. I see, and if you have any question, then please comment. I will reply. Thank you. Har Har Mahadev.